in case you wonder what I look like, so I had this picture taken in Texas a couple of years ago when I visited a software company. Now I have even less hair. My background, I studied electrical engineering and sociology. I attended Middle East Technical University, University of Texas at Austin, and Brown University. I work as a
And you are
native
quite tall, Ugur.
translator. What is it? And I worked as a desktop publisher journalist before becoming a technical writer in 1998.
I said you are quite
I
tall.
don't have, yes, I am. I am 6'3". I don't have any technical writing certification or degrees, in case you wonder, because people sometimes ask me if we would like to, they say, do I need to have a degree? Well, I didn't have one. And for the last 17 years, I'm working as a technical writer in the high-tech industry. Overall, I've been a writer for 30 years. I work for companies like ADP, Fannie Mae, and Honeywell. I am an STC Associate Fellow. They elected me this year. I'm the past president of STC Washington, D.C. Baltimore chapter, and I'm the current member of my chapter's administrative council. So I'm a very much STC guy. I love STC. I'm proud of it, and I hope more of you will join it if you are not already a member. Now, let's dive in. Structure of a software company. I like this picture because it looks like home to me. Almost every software company I work for look like this. So the departments in a software company would be marketing and sales, Marcom, which is marketing communications, HR and finance, development, the coders, engineers, testing and QA, documentation, my department, customer service, and field reps. So, as you can see, it is quite a complex organization. It is not a simple environment to work in. And we as technical writers, like a fish in a sea, we have to operate within such a organizational context. Now, technical writers have different things to do in the product life cycle in a software company. The cycle starts with marketing and sales and what we call MRD, which is marketing requirements document. Usually, product manager takes care of this, and business writers, so-called his assistants or her assistants, contribute to the marketing requirements document. This document basically tells us what does the customer want. So this is the beginning point because we are working for the customer, and depending on your organization, a technical writer can sometimes contribute to this very important document this early in the process. Now, second step in the product life cycle is design. Once we know what the customer wants, second question is, how are we going to build this thing? So our engineering friends step in and they decide on a system architecture, and they start going through in detail what the software product is going to look like, what the functions will be, what the processes, libraries, how are they work together. And one document at this stage that technical writers can contribute is the design specs document. But unless you are an engineer, the chances are you will not be asked to really write this document. because it requires a lot of technical skill and knowledge. So the third in the product life cycle, we know what the customer wants. We know what the product is going to look like from an engineering point of view. The third life cycle stop is the development. So the coders start, developing the code. And there are two main documents at this stage, which is called SDK, Software Development Kit, and API, Application Program Interface. These are the most technical documents any writer can ever write. And actually, if you're not an engineer, if you don't know programming, if you don't know system administration, the chances are I won't ask you to write it, and you shouldn't volunteer to write it either. These are not end user documents. But still, if you have a solid engineering background, as a technical writer, you have a place in the cycle, in the process at this point in time. The next step, the product is developed. Now we have to test the product. There are all kinds of different tests in a software company. We have what's called unit testing, system testing, QA testing, load testing, etc., etc. And in all these tests, there are what we call testing scenarios. I mean, these are step-by-step description of what the tester should do and what would be the expected results. And if the result does not fit the scenario, then there's a problem. So that's the whole goal of testing. They are trying to break the product before the users can break it, right? So they can know and repair what doesn't work at this point in the game. Uh, so a technical writer can contribute to these testing scenarios. They are not difficult documents to write. One can easily learn them within a week if someone was willing to teach you how it's all done. So after testing, we come to writing the user documents. Now, this is our home, guys. This is a tech writer's core domain. This is where, in a software company, I first come up with the documentation plan. I talk to SMEs, subject matter experts. By the way, everything you see now will be available to you. This whole presentation will be available. So don't worry, if you can't take notes or take screen captures. If I were you, I would just concentrate to my delivery and, write aside if you have any questions. At this point, as I was saying, a technical writer consults existing documents. They are very important in order not to reinvent the wheel. We get feedback from product testing. We interview different stakeholders. Sometimes I talk to project managers, sometimes I talk to product manager, I talk to coders, engineers, and a very important part of our writing schedule at this point is responding to tickets, because there are all kinds of complaints or features that are not working or features that need improvement, and those are all need to be documented by a technical writer. So at this stage, technical writers are more alert. Bahutacha. Now, let's go back to the product life cycle. Okay, guys? Now, this is the ideal picture. I mean, nothing seems to be simpler, right? I mean, the engineers code the product and we write the document, then we deliver. Bingo, it's finished, right? And in terms of the cycle, I wonder if you see my, little cursor. It starts with MRD, going clockwise. After marketing requirements document, the engineers design the product itself, software product. So they write the code, then the code is tested, and at that point, we enter the cycle. We write the end user documentation. It's reviewed, approved, released, and then hopefully we get feedback either through customer reps and the various field representatives, product manager, etc., and the cycle keeps on going. So this is the ideal. But the question is this really what happens in a software company? I have to say no. And hang on to your hats and seats because here comes the reality. Usually it feels like I'm honestly looking at, three different traffic lights at the same time. Some of the lights tell me stop, do nothing. Other lights tell me go, 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 please, go as fast as you can. And the others saying, pending, just your foot should be both on the brake and then the gas pedal. Because this is what's going on in a software company. Uh, it all starts with a customer A wants X, right? So I write the document X to cater to that customer. But then a company does not have a single customer. Another customer on the same product wants X plus Y, namely he or she wants new features, right? Just for that company. And so now there's a new variation. I have to write a document that delivers both X and Y. And while this is happening, the first customer this time wants certain things taken out from the product. Say, no, 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 we downscaled. We don't want this and that and this feature. So, of course, the documentation again changes. And then we have a third customer which wants double the product with a brand new Z feature. There you go. The whole documentation follows suit because I am there at the pleasure of the customer. So this is the kind of complex, ebb and flow that's going on a daily basis in a software company. It really forces you to be real quick on your feet and to stay on your toes. Here is another representation of the whole slightly chaotic process. Now, really, this is what's going on. There are overlapping product cycles going on at the same time. You know, while uh, one group is at the coding phase, they may receive feedback from a customer, which kicks off, a second cycle, while the first cycle is not yet completed, which further on at the coding phase may kick off a third cycle for either the same customer or another customer. So it is like all these wheels, gears are turning, They are more than one. And as technical writers, I am right in between of these turning gears, trying to figure out the best I can which documents to serve into which group, into which cycle, and when, because these also have their own calendars. So it is a real complex juggling act. A lot of balls up in the air, and after 17 years, I believe I got a little better, but still, I wish I could say I'm in 100% control, which I am not. So, in such a dynamic environment, uh, here are some of the challenges that I see for technical writers. The first challenge is, of course, document set control. We software tech writers are not writing a document, but a whole set of documents. For example, right now, we are in another release cycle. In 1 month, we have to release a new version of our software, and I swear to you, my document set has 16 different documents. I mean, one of them is 1800 pages, and of course, not all of them are 1800 pages. Some of them are just a single sheet, like a licensing form. Some of them are just an Excel workbook consisting of two worksheets, etc. But nevertheless, it requires constant attention and concentration. Here are some of the documents that I can mention in a typical document set. One, user guide, of course. But again, there is no one single user guide. In my company, we have there's a light edition of the software. There's professional edition. There's enterprise edition, and each with its own features, different licensing requirements. And this is when really conditional text. Those of you who are familiar with FrameMaker will know what I'm talking about. uh, Techniques like conditional text come in very handy, so that from same single source document you can generate more than one document. Uh, for some reason, I do you still see my screen? No. I lost it also, unfortunately. Hmm. What happened? All of a sudden, I lost it. Let's see. Come on, Adobe. Where's my slideshow? Hmm. I got another 15 minutes on my slideshow. Any ideas? Let me see how I can get it back. I mean, I didn't do anything on my end. It just disappeared, guys. But can you hear me still? I hope you can still hear me. I think you are hearing me. Yes. Yes. I can see that. Let's see.
Ugur, why don't you share it once again?
Manisha. Okay.
This is Rajdeep
Okay. One
actually.
second, Manisha. Transcription. What is it? How am I gonna share it? Let's see.
This is Raj eyes of Manisha because we we are using an STC India president account. When we took out a
I'm
couple of
sorry.
years back, she was the president. So
I apologize. What's
yeah,
your
so
name? Raj? Are you Raj? Okay. I apologize that
this is
I
Raj
keep calling you
here.
Manisha.
So I guess no, that's fine. That's
Okay, I'll
fine.
go with Manisha.
It's always nice. Yeah, it's okay. So now can you reshare your screen once again? Yeah,
Yes.
I'm
Yes. I'm
yeah.
sharing now, I
Okay,
think.
cool.
You guys see it? Man, this is a complex animal. Screen sharing in progress. Have patience with me, guys. Just 1 second. Man. Adobe. Our grandchildren will laugh at these memories. They say, they used to lose the screen in the middle of presentation. Can you believe it? Oh man, very
Okay,
sad.
so
Huh.
it's a big problem with Adobe Connect. It's 2 o'clock in US, Washington, 2 o'clock. He's from US. Uh, what do I need to do? I make
That help. System admin and configuration guides. A&E, architecture and engineering, specs documents, release notes, all important release notes, very important. And there's our product was not developed for the web, so last year we also introduced the web version. So now I also have to write web interface guide. There are licensing forms, compatibility matrix, because there are so many different browsers, so many different operating systems, and so many different versions of the same software that we have to assure the customer that what he or she has, the combination of systems and equipment she has, is compatible with this latest product. We have similarly version, comparison charts, illustrations, graphics, etc., etc. So this is challenge number one. It's like controlling, 10, 15, 20 wild horses. You have to be on top of this documentation set. Now, second challenge for technical writers is version control. In and of itself, a constant chore, a constant task. In my company, I use Agile, Jira. We started with SourceSafe, Microsoft SourceSafe. Then we graduated to Agile. Then came Jira, and now the latest Subversion. These are all systems that keep a different version of each code branch, each program snippet, and it is they were not developed for documents for document versioning, but this is the I think fate of documentation in a lot of high tech companies, uh, because usually the managers are former programmers, so naturally they tend to pick versioning software that fits the code more than documentation. So there's this, we periodically go through discussions whether there should be separate directories for different versions of documents or just one directory, only the latest version. Each choice with its own pros and cons and and implications. But nevertheless, the bottom line is, as technical writers, we have to keep a very clean record of different versions of our documents. And once someone asks, where is the third recent, like 3 generations back installation guide? You know, we should be able to immediately produce it rather than saying, well, so I don't know. In this business, I don't know is a phrase, is an answer no one accepts from a technical writer. So next challenge is file control. Let me take a sip of water. Now, here we are talking about document templates, very important. And, as tech writers, we are the guardians of these templates, very important, because it feeds directly into the branding, the image of the company, and the style with which we present our products to the world. And this trickles all the way down, believe it or not, to guidelines for file and directory names. Such a small thing as a file name, I found out during the last 17 years, can make such a huge difference in the long run in terms of the efficiency and productivity. And here I'm happy to share with you the best file name syntax I could come up with. And it consists of a document number followed by a brief description of the file, the title, followed by, for me, all important date. I can't tell you how many times this little date at the end of the file name saved my life, because during the course of a day, course of a week or month, I generate so many different versions of the same document that without the date, you know, the things would go to hell in a basket, as they say. So this is a best practice that helped me a lot in the past, and I offer it to you for your choice and decision. It's up to you. So the fourth challenge is review management. This is very important. The reason it's very important is, in my experience, it takes as much to have a document reviewed as to write it. When you write a document, you are just 50% of the road. Another 50% is getting it reviewed, getting the feedback, the review notes, producing the second draft. I believe on the average I produce 3 drafts, but in the past, due to various reasons, I had documents that I did like 14, 15 drafts. At the end, everybody was laughing. They were saying, what the hell is going on? When will we finish this document? But be ready for at least 3, 4, 5 documents if you're working for a software company. And the dilemma here is how the number of reviewers really, besides obviously they need to be qualified, they need to be stakeholders. But I mean, the more reviewers you have, you feel more secure as a writer, right? Because you will have more corrections, more pertinent in-time remarks. Yet everybody is busy. I mean, there is no position in a software company called reviewer. These are all people with other jobs to do. They are engineers, coders, managers, testers, etc., QA people. So for them, review is never a priority. So you really have to drive the process and stay on top of it. Early in my career, I had the attitude that, well, I'm a writer. I'm a good writer. Here's the document. If you can't review it in time, it's not my problem. Wrong. Trust me, it's the wrong attitude, because this is a teamwork. At the end, everyone suffers. When the review doesn't get done, when we produce less than optimal documentation. I mean, the whole when the ship sinks, everybody sinks. So now I make it my duty today to stay on top of it with a lot of energy to make sure the reviews will get done in time. And the last challenge that I see, the fifth challenge, is the usability, user experience challenge. Now, again, we have here what is ideal picture on the one hand. You are looking at the ideal picture, right? I mean, a technical writer is visiting the end user. They are sitting, having a nice cup of chai, right, or coffee, talking. Uh, Dear Ms. Customer, how do you like our documentation? She said, well, it's not bad, except the glossary. You should change an index, etc. I mean, we hardly ever get in touch with the end user. And since I'm active within STC, trust me, I talk to a lot of my fellow technical writers during the week and the month. I mean, they're in the same boat. We are very lucky if we get face to face with any customers at all. And there are valid reasons why they won't allow us to talk to customer directly because we may end up saying something wrong, during the conversation that may affect the deal that customer has with the company. So yes, you have to be very careful when you're talking to end customer. But as a proxy for the end user, a technical writer should talk to field representatives, uh, uh, people who are talking to customers on the phone, like tech support people, for example, and in short, anyone and everyone, in order to get feedback about the documentation. So the more feedback we have, the more we reach out to a diverse group of uh, people who are in touch with the product. I think the higher will be the usability of our documentation. So it's been, let me see, 40 minutes into our presentation. Now, here are the best practices for survival and success. In my view, first and foremost comes the documentation plan. Now, like many other topics we touched upon in this presentation, we could have a whole webinar on documentation plan alone, trust me, because it is that important a topic for me. A documentation plan, first off, has a scope. It defines the scope of the project. It defines the stakeholders. Who are the managers? Who are the go-to people? Who are the, who are the points of contact? What are their phone numbers? What are their emails, etc. Then the all-important review team, right? You commit them by name. You write them down from the very beginning. Before even you start writing the documentation, ABC knows, okay, like here I see three names, Ajit, Ankit, and Kanav. They know they are my review team, right? So that really works very well if in advance you announce your team. Then comes the calendar with milestones. The more specific you are about those milestones, the more you can put those green check marks along your path of progress. And documentation plan becomes, all the more important if you consider the fact that just as I have shown you, you are not working on a single document. Usually you are working on a two, three, four, five documents simultaneously. So if you don't have a detailed calendar, you can really lose control. Then chapter summaries, not in detail, but maybe in just one sentence. How many chapters or sections you expect to have in this document, and what are they going to be about? Usually I start with an overview chapter, I end up with a summary, and what is in between depends on the product and situation. Prerequisites. What are the prerequisites of this document project? Like uh, about 3 months ago, um, I fired up my computer early in the morning, and that day I was planning to finish off an install guide, and all of a sudden my computer started to have these error messages telling me I was out of hard disk space. you know, I really freaked out. Because it is not an easy problem to get over. When you for some reason run out of hard disk space. So anyway, we fixed the problem, but sometimes hard disk space, even that can be a prerequisite for you to complete a job. So if you list those items in advance, you'll be in a better negotiation position with your manager. You can tell her or him that you knew all along that you needed these resources. Okay, and this segues naturally into risk factors. I highly recommend at the end of your documentation plan you include a table of risk factors. You describe them and tell what happens if this factor is not taken care of. Okay, it could be anything, something as simple as updating your Photoshop, let's say, to your need to interview a manager in Bangalore. Okay, I'm just making it up, but there are all kinds of factors, and at the end, yeah, you need to get the approvals and signatures, because I hate to say this, but at the end of the day, technical writers, more often than not, uh, sometimes they get blamed. Okay, when things are not completed in time. But if you have an approved and signed documentation plan, you can really cover yourself to a great extent by Kiran Mai says, I think configuration management should also be included as a separate entity, version control. Yeah, definitely. In the past, I have written configuration guides, system admin configuration guides as well. You are correct. So, this is one good practice documentation plan. And here's here are the other tips that worked for me during my 17 years as a technical writer. One, be a nice, helpful team member, you know, because this is a team sport, okay? Uh, we without people around us, we can't function. We are not writing the next great American novel or Indian novel. We are not Salman Rushdie, you know. Our names will never be known, but our product, the end result will be known. Everybody will see it. So it should be correct. It should be to the specs, and for that, it goes a long way. If you're a sociable person who gets along well with other team members, learn every day. Every day, you learn something new about your product, and you also learn about tools and techniques. I don't need to tell you our field progresses at such a fast clip. I mean, we have structured authoring, conditional text, and we have this explosion in online publishing, all kinds of publishing alternatives. Uh, Believe it or not, these days I'm teaching myself CSS and HTML, because even those started to impinge upon my work at some point. So we can never learn enough in our field. Keep an eye on your files. Make sure when someone checks out the files, another person cannot work on them, right? That's what version control like SourceSafe is good for. Know where your files are saved, so that if your manager comes and asks you to see such and such a file, you can file the file in a second. That's your job. That's part of your job description. Volunteer new ideas. I try to do it periodically, and that shows your commitment to the company, commitment to the product, commitment to your vocation, to your job, and sometimes it really improves things for the whole team. Drive the review process. Don't be shy. Don't be afraid to speak up, even if it's your product manager or manager who's not doing the review. Tell them nicely but firmly that please, this is the deadline for the review, and you have to have it by Friday close of business. Okay, at least go on the record by an email to cover your end. Show interest in other teams. Go talk to the QA people. Ask them what they are doing. Ask them what this term means. I do it all the time. The other day, I asked our engineering team the main difference between engineering testing and QA testing, regression testing, and they were so happy to talk to me like 15 minutes. I learned a lot, and every time I talk to other teams, I gain something out of it. And lastly, my dear friends, I would say be proud and happy because we have such a wonderful job, vocation. In my view, what we do is nothing less than bring order to chaos. I honestly, truly believe that this world, as as terrible crazy as it is, when you look at the news headlines, would be even a worse place without us if we didn't create these documents and with the descriptions of procedures. Industries, companies, transportation, banks, everything depends on our products. Consumers, they depend on us. So I would say be proud every day when you show up for Apis and be happy. So we are closing in on minute number 50. What did we learn in this presentation? I gave you my background. We learned the structure of a software company. We learned tech writer's place in the product life cycle and how he or she can contribute to this cycle. We learned 5 challenges for tech writers as I see them. And we also went through some best practices for survival and success. So, if you have any questions, I'm all yours. Go ahead and fire.
Well, I see a question from Kiran Ugur. She asked, do you think product certification will help in the long run in the domain you are working?
Will I did not quite hear it. Will I hear in the long run in the domain I'm working? Can you
Yeah,
please type the question
it's there in
again?
the chat box. Do you see Kiranmai? It's there in the
Oh,
chat.
okay.
See your chat
That,
box.
yes, I see it. Learn every day. Do you think product certification will help in the long run in the domain you are working? Kiran, I let me put it this way. I don't think it would hurt. Okay. And by product certification, I suppose you mean like a frame maker certification, right? Or Microsoft Word certification.
No, I'm not
But
talking about product certification in terms of the tools which we use. I'm talking about
okay.
the product certification, which probably if you're working in a technical company like Cisco or something else, so
Oh,
you definitely have some certification which you can do for the engineers and
sure.
things like that. So how does it help when you as a writer go and do this type of certification?
Yeah.
Because
I'll,
later on you can always go as transition to becoming a subject matter expert in your
exactly. Now, thank you for the excellent question. I can tell you right away one specific way in which such certification might help. Uh, in all the companies I worked, there was always need for testers. Okay, because the product life cycle is getting so fast. It's such a furious pace. Usually they are undermanned. And if you have those certifications, you can easily adopt a dual role as a technical writer slash tester. Okay,
Right.
thereby making perhaps a little more money on the side, as well as gaining more experience and becoming a more indispensable part of the team. If you can get it, by all means, go ahead and get it.
Thank
Okay.
you.
The
Great, Ugur. I have a question for you. Question for you, Ugur. Please, could you share your experiences of working in US? And the second later part is, what is the state of outsourcing? Could we see more projects getting outsourced to India, or is it a stopgap case? Uh, do we see
and
the change where tech writers, where US, we are likely to see more offshore teams of outsourcing? Could you just share your experiences or your thoughts on it?
sure. Thanks, Raj. That's a very good question. My experience working in the U.S. When I started as a tech writer, I was a journalist for 4 years. I covered the U.S. Congress and U.S. State Department for a daily newspaper. But frankly, the pay was terrible, so I was starving, basically. And I had both electrical engineering and social science background. So someone said, "Why don't you become a technical writer?" And it was a time when there was a great demand for technical writers. So it comes in like waves, okay? For like 3, 4 years, there's this huge demand for tech writers, and they pretty much want to hire anyone and everyone who can write, okay? Then when the demand wanes, they became choosy and picky, and if you don't have a technical writing degree, they don't want, etc. So it comes and goes. But location is very important in America. In places like Northern Virginia,
What's the question? There was another question.
There are Ugur, there are a couple of questions. There are a couple of questions earlier which
of source safe. Is there any character specification for naming files? I work in data XML and we have limitation, yeah, naming files. Uh, I have not worked with source safe Priya for the last probably couple years. We are now totally using a combination of Agile, Jira, and Subversion, and we don't do XML. I mean, unfortunately, as a company, my branch of the company, they are not using data yet. So I won't be able to give authoritative answer, frankly, to your question because I'm not using SourceSafe currently, and I'm not doing any data XML. But I'm aware that yes, there are limitations, file names, and I guess the best way is to develop a guideline, in-company guideline, and to agree on them. Because there's nothing worse than four technical writers each naming the files in a different way. I would be very nervous in an environment like that. So what are the best practices, Ankit, to align? Uh, Let me increase the size of this chat box. Can I do that? Yeah. Oh, okay. 1 second. Source safe. Ankit, what are the best practices to align product documentation in an agile product development in which we have different sprints? Um, I don't know how to answer that. In agile, uh, I have my own track, documentation track, and basically, you know, it's a repository. I use it as a repository, and that's where these days we are doing all the reviews and everything in Jira. So Jira is really in the center of our document development and review process. And Agile is more like when everything is done, that's where we keep the final frozen copy of the document for future reference and for archiving. So, I use it more as an archiving tool at this point than as a documentation development tool. I don't see many companies involving documentation team in the product management meetings. Yeah. Is it not a good practice to involve documentation? Yes, it is. But yeah, we are usually at the bottom of the totem pole, aren't we? I think it takes care of it automatically. Uh, um, I don't. I have a feeling every company uses agile or what's called agile methodology differently. As I said in my company, we use it as a repository with not much, dynamic features. The real Yeah, I mean, we used to have a team of three. The last 2 years, I'm the lone rider in my company. So I'm a one-man team. Therefore, the advantage of that is, I guess that's why lag is not an issue in my daily work. But if you are working as a part of a team of 5 to 10, yeah, you need a separate coordination job. So, any other questions, guys? Thank you. Dhanyavad. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I used to say Bahutacha, and a friend of mine, he's speaking Tamil. He said, why do you keep saying Bahutacha? You should say Nalarka. So now I'm saying Nalarka. And I have quite a few Indian friends. Yeah, that's Tamil, I know. I am learning Tamil now. How about that? A Turkish guy in America learning Tamil. What a wonderful world. Yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you. I thank you too. Okay, so if there are no other questions, remember the bonus. Do you want to hear what the bonus is? Are you curious? Yay! Okay, now, drum roll please, drum roll, drum roll, drum roll, drum roll, extra bonus. Here we go, guys. 1, 2, 3, boom. Every participant gets